Right. So let's start reviewing syntax, and let's start by the beginning. We have been studying in the first part of the semester, we studied morphology. We saw that morphology deals with the word, how it's formed, what are its constituents. Now, what is syntax and what is it for? I intend not to be an exposition, but a dialogue, okay? So what do you understand by syntax? What is its function in English? Why do we study syntax, people? Because we like to be boring? No. Don't do like Tiago, my orientando. I asked him, what's the relevance of your work? He said, it's because tambor de crioula é muito chato. No. Why do we study syntax? Besides because it's chato. What do we want to understand? The function of what, Amanda? To morphology, the basic unit is the morpheme. And from that basic unit, we can understand the word. Now, what about the syntax? What is the basic unit in syntax? The minimal unit for syntax. In this course analysis, we deal with the text. In morphology, we deal with the word. What about in syntax? Yes, Juliana? No? We deal with the... What's the most basic unit in syntax? It can be canonical, it can be non-canonical. The clause. Very good. Okay. So, syntax studies the order or the arrangement of the clauses and sentences. Okay. It will deal with the relationship of the words inside the clauses and sentences, especially the clause. The clause is the most basic unit. Okay. And what is the difference between sentence and clause? Let's take the word processor here. What is the difference between sentence and clause? Students, wow, students are scared of the exam. A sentence, a clause, both? Both. Why is it a clause? Because we have a verb. Why is it a sentence? It provides meaning. Yeah. And the most basic sentence is a sentence with only one clause. And what do we call that? A sentence of only one clause is called a... So, they started studying. A sentence or a clause? Here. Oops, this comma is not here. Students are scared of the exam, so they started studying. Is this a sentence? Yeah. How many clauses are there? 2 clauses. Oh, but if I analyze the number of verbs, one verb, another verb, another verb. Is this really a verb? When you start doing something, when you start studying, when you start watching a movie, when you start doing anything, is this second verb a verb? This is part of the same verbal structure, the same verb capsule. Okay? So I consider this one, let's put it in a lot of inverted commas, one action, only one action. Okay? Two verbal clauses given by a verbal capsule, a verbal group. Okay? So, how many clauses do I have here? 2. Okay? Although it looks like we have 3 verbs, but they are not 3 verbs. Okay? Start doing something is a verbal construction. Okay, so what's the difference between sentence and clause? How many clauses can I have in a sentence? As many as you are able to construct. Okay, I can have sentences with 3, 4 clauses, and that's what makes some paragraphs confusing. Well, if you read texts on philosophy, you find sentences with 3, 4 clauses, and that's why these texts are difficult. So when we ask you to write short periods, in fact, we are asking you to write few clauses in your sentences. Okay, so going back, a clause is defined as having an action. If it has an action, okay, take this word action uh, with a lot of attention. Don't consider action as actually doing something, because I am a teacher is no action at all. It's a state of being. Okay, a sentence, a clause has at least one verb. Okay, so clauses can be put together. They can be put together either by coordination or subordination. Okay, uh, Amanda came by bus and Juliana came by car. This and joins 2 clauses. Amanda came by bus, Juliana came by car. Okay, in this relationship, there is a certain relationship of independence between these 2 clauses. That's why I say they are coordinated. Okay, I won't go deep inside the matter of coordination, subordination, because we did not discuss this as the object of the course. But clauses are put together, and to be put together, they need linking elements. These linking elements are the coordinators and the subordinators. More about sentence and clause. As I said, a sentence can have 2 clauses, 3 clauses. Okay, we discussed this. So the clause, let me put a zoom here. The clause is a more basic unit than the sentence. So knowing now about sentence and clause, what is syntax for? Why do we study syntax? To better understand the relationship between words inside a clause, and to better understand the relationship between clauses inside a sentence. Okay. And then we saw that clauses can be either canonical or non-canonical. And what do I mean by a canonical clause? What is a canonical clause? What is a canonical clause? Is it canonical? Why not? Because it's interrogative. So canonical clauses will define them not based on what they are, but on what they are not. Canonical clauses are not negative. So canonical clauses are not negative. Is this a canonical clause? Of course not. Yeah. Again, because oh, sorry, you said interrogative. Uh, I messed up and ended up giving you the answer. Yeah, canonical clauses are not interrogative. Canonical clauses are not negative either. Canonical clauses should be positive. Is this canonical? Canonical clauses should be positive. Is this canonical? I'm sorry, didn't listen. It has to be positive. So, in fact, yeah, they shouldn't be. They have to be, which is kind of different. Canonical clauses have to be positive. Is this canonical? Is this clause canonical? Is it positive? Yes. So this is canonical. Okay? This clause was turned into canonical. Is canonical? Why not, Juliana? Juliana, right? Juliana, Flávia. Eu vou, até o fim do curso, da graduação de vocês, eu memorizo. It's in passive voice. Okay, so this clause was turned into canonical is non-canonical. Well, turn this clause into canonical. Is canonical? Sol tava bom, hein, Gabi? Também peguei, só para te fazer inveja também. Turn this clause into canonical. Is canonical? I am kind of sacaneating you today, okay? Take that. Is that a canonical clause? Turn this clause into canonical. Why not, Daniele? It's imperative. Imperatives are non-canonical, okay? So this is just a kind of way to show you that we do not have a positive definition of what canonical clauses are. But we certainly can distinguish them from others based on what they are not. Okay? So canonical clauses are defined on a basis of what they are not on a basis of what they are. Let's go to the next session of slides. So it's possible that I asked you to turn some clauses into canonical. What would you do? For example, this clause isn't canonical. Turn it into canonical. Sometimes it's inevitable to change the meaning. You have no other way around. That's it. This clause was turned into canonical Yes, I have a kind of a chart that I'll show to you in just a moment. Okay, take this. This clause was turned into canonical by Juliana. This is not canonical, but you can turn it into. How do you turn it into canonical? Juliana turned this clause into canonical. Passive voice. This first one is non-canonical, but the second one is canonical. But why do we have to know this? The question is, we are learning what is canonical, what is non-canonical. Why? Because we like to play with the language. What is the function of this? Why do we need canonical clauses? Why do we need canonical clauses? Because being the most basic, the most elementary, okay, we can define other clauses that are non-canonical based in a canonical model. If they are non-canonical, you turn it into canonical in order to analyze the function of each word in that clause. Then you go back to the non-canonical model to explain what the function of the words are. Okay? It's like reverse engineering. You turn the thing back to a more simple stage, you analyze that simpler stage, and then you explain the most complexes. Well, a definition of canonical or not. A definition of non-canonical or not. I have a board here, a chart. Take this. Here, what's the most basic difference? She has read your article, she has not read your article. Canonical clauses are not negative. In 2, canonical clauses are not interrogative. In 3, canonical clauses are never she said that they knew the victim. What is the function of this that? She said. Yes, indirect speech. But indirect speech has something else behind it. Indirect speech is always she said. How many verbs? Verb number 1. She said that. She said something. Clause number 1. They knew the victim. Clause number 2. Amanda said that she was tired. Amanda said something. Clause number 1. Amanda was tired. Clause number 2. Who is joining clause number 1 and clause number 2? That is a coordinator, okay, which puts two ideas together. So canonical clauses are never coordinate. They are neither coordinate nor either he missed the train or it's late. He missed the train, idea 1. He is late, idea 2. What is joining these two ideas? Either or. Either or, a pair of words that function as subordinators. Okay? So canonical clauses are never subordinate. And finally, the secretary took the key. The key was taken by the secretary. We conclude that canonical clauses are never passive. Okay? So again, canonical clauses, not negative, not interrogative, which is the same as to say they are always positive. Okay? They are always direct speech. Okay? And they are never, thus they are never coordinate, neither coordinate nor subordinate. Okay? And they are never passive. They are always active. Right? This is in the videos, and you can easily find this information. So again, positive. Negatives are non-canonical. Declarative. What is the difference between positive and declarative? Interrogatives are non-canonical, as are other clause types, imperatives and exclamatives. Well, an imperative is not negative, or may not be negative. An imperative is not a question, but that's not a canonical clause. Why not? Because they are not declarative. When you declare something, okay, when you state something, that's why we talk about the sentence or a clause or a statement. You have to state something, you have to declare something. Okay? They are non-coordinate, they are active, and they follow this pattern. Subject, auxiliary, adverb if any, yeah, if there is an adverb, the verb, and the object. Well, what is really important here? I'd say we can simplify this even more. The subject, the verbal capsule, and what we'll call, just for now, the complement, the rest of the sentence. What is the verbal capsule? This is the same as to say the verb and all of its auxiliaries or structure. What do I mean by this? For example, to look for something. To look for something is not the same as to look at something. So when I say Mario is looking for his book, I mean something completely different from Mario is looking at his book. Okay? So the verbal capsule, the prepositions are part of them as long as they are distinctive in meaning. Okay? So the prepositions take place inside the verbal capsule if they are able to change the meaning of the verb. It's like another example. To start or to finish. Doing something. Well, you may say there are two verbs, start and the verb that you are doing. I started studying for the exam. I finished correcting the exercises. It looks like there are two verbs, but there is only one action being described. What you actually started doing or finished doing. Okay, so there is only one verbal capsule. Okay, so that's why we call it verbal capsule, or if you prefer, cápsula verbal. Okay, o núcleo verbal. Any question about this? So, if I asked you, what is a canonical clause and what is its function? Are you able to tell me? Even in Portuguese. Don't keep looking at me like that. No, I don't want to complicate things for you in the exam, but you have to know how to tell me this, because these are theoretical questions that may come in the exam. What is the main object of study of syntax? What is a canonical clause? What is syntax for? What are canonical clauses for? Lots of questions. Vamos lá. Sintaxe para quê? Para quê? To better understand meaning. To better understand meaning according to an intention. Of course, here we are breaking with the paradigm of discourse analysis, and we believe in intention. Here in morphosyntax, we believe in intention. Okay? Not in discourse analysis. Forget it. Para que então? A sintaxe, e acho que é talvez a contribuição que eu posso mais ajudar vocês é mostrar assim, as partes da linguística não estão separadas. Né? A morfologia leva até um certo ponto o estudo da linguagem em que ela tem que entregar a sintaxe. Até quando chega no nível de oração, de sentença. Da mesma forma, a sintaxe entrega, após fazer a sua tarefa, ela auxilia o trabalho da semântica. That's it, Mario. Okay, so syntax, what for? What for syntax? Syntax to better understand meaning, which is a role of semantics. If you better understand the order of things, you better understand meaning. And this is the linking between syntax and semantics. What is syntax most basic object of study? Again, objeto básico de estudo da sintaxe, the clause, a oração, okay? Canonical clause. What is a canonical clause? Or better, what is the function of a canonical clause in syntactic studies? Porque se eu perguntar, what is the function of a canonical clause, pode dizer, to provide meaning. The function of every clause is to provide meaning. But in the study of syntax, Why do we need canonical clauses? In an easier way, very good. So when it's non-canonical, we turn it to canonical to make it easier. Or okay, canonical clauses are not here to complicate; they are here to make things easier. Okay. Let me see if there's something else. By this moment of the review, you can always interfere with your question, something that was left behind in class because of a class you missed or a question you had at that moment. Yeah, here we have an exercise. Yeah, just to remember. My family came for Christmas. Quickly, because you have done this. Canonical or not? Canonical. This is the house that I bought. Mário, canonical or not? Não pode pensar. Non-canonical, because it's coordinate. Emma plays the piano very well. Canonical, very good. Amanda, Jesus, how brilliant she is. Canonical or not? Pensou demais. Gabi, canonical or not? Pensou demais. Juliana, canonical or not? Not canonical. Why not? It's exclamative, or if you prefer, an interjection. And an interjection is not declarative. Quando eu tropeço e esmago o dedinho na perna dessa mesa, que eu digo baralho, baralho não é uma informação, não é uma declaração. É apenas uma interjeição. Sue is not happy with her performance. Gabi, canonical or non? Non-canonical. What a shame you couldn't do it, Mario. Non-canonical, because it's exclamative. Mike, do it as soon as possible. Amanda, non-canonical. Why not? Because it's imperative. There's no money in my wallet. Flavia, non-canonical, because? Oh, canonical. Why? It's positive. Yeah. You say, oh, isn't it negative? No, of course not. There is something in my wallet. Até eu fui levado a interpretar como negativo, não é? And if I wanted to make it non-canonical, there must be a verb here inflected in the negative. This is not the case. There is no money. No money is the object of this sentence. Canonical. There is not any money is non-canonical. Okay? So it's a way, for example, if you find an exercise, turn such and such sentence, such and such clause into canonical. There is not any. Oops, there is no. There is not any beer in the fridge. There's no beer in the fridge. Okay, I turned a non-canonical model into a canonical one. I think we are done with the review of canonical and non-canonical stuff. Now, these non-canonical or canonical clauses, they are all composed of words, and words can be classified. And this classification we call parts of speech, okay? Or if you prefer, grammatical classes, okay? Some people call them parts of speech, some people call them grammatical classes. Now, just a moment. Se eu não fechar isso aqui vai ficar pesado. So every clause, every sentence has elements that can be subclassified according to their function. And we have 9 primary word classes or parts of speech, as I said. We are not taking interjections as part of speech, okay? We decided not to explore them. They are 9, okay? But here we have 3, 6, 9. A 10th one would be interjections we are not dealing with. They are the determinatives, the articles, okay, for example, the adjectives, the nouns, the coordinators, the adverbs, prepositions, verbs, and subordinators. Do you still remember the manha, the trick I presented to you to memorize this? NASA? It's a very silly sentence, but that helps a lot. NASA discovered a very cold planet. Again, what are the parts of speech? N for noun, adjective, subordinators, adverbs, determinatives, verbs, coordinators, and prepositions. Very good. So we are taking pronouns into the same account as nouns. Why? Because it looks a little bit, it looks logical that if pronouns play the role of nouns, they are considered in the same category. Okay? Now, every clause, every single sentence is composed of these elements. Okay? So what can I do if I want to sacaneate you? I can give you some sentences or some clauses and ask you to do the syntactic analysis, finding subject, predicate, predicator, direct, indirect object, and telling the parts of speech. Let's do it. Let me Mario is wondering if the test will be difficult. Okay, first thing, do a syntactical analysis of this sentence or clause. I don't know, is it a sentence or a clause? It's a clause. Why, Mario? Because of if. Mario is wondering. The test will be difficult. If is a conditional. Is it coordination or subordination? Subordination. Okay? Now, uh, if I have two clauses, let's paint clause number 1 and clause number 2. Let's find the subject. Kind of easy, yeah? The subject. Let's find the verbal capsule. The predicate is wondering if the test will be difficult. Where is the main verb? Everything. Let's do it better. Let's find the predicate. The predicate is here. Sorry. The predicate. Só de sacanagem. Okay. Again. So this is the predicate. Where is the predicator? Where is the predicator? Is or wondering? Wondering. Okay? This is the predicator. He is wondering about, who wonders? Wonders if something will happen about something. So what is the function of this? The test will be difficult. If the test will be difficult. What kind of a phrase is this? Difficult is an adjective. Will be difficult is a the test will be difficult. What kind of a phrase is it? The test is the subject of the sentence, and the subject must be a noun phrase. Will be difficult is a verb phrase. A verb phrase or an adjective phrase? An adjective phrase, okay? What will be difficult? The test. Something that will be difficult. I have a noun phrase here. I have an adjective phrase here. Okay? So, if the test will be difficult, is the object, the test will be difficult, is the object of his wondering. Who wonders? Wonders about or if something will happen. Direct object or indirect object? Indirect object, because he is wondering if X. What is X? The test will be difficult. This X is the junction of the noun phrase, the test, plus the adjective phrase, be difficult. Will be difficult. Okay? Now, indirect object. Again, let's work with the parts of speech. Mario, now, quickly, don't think. Verb, verb, subordinator, determiner, noun, you. You have to treat it like this. Will be verb, adjective. Why you have to treat it like this? Remember I told you English is a sem futuro language? We have no inflection for future. So you consider this will as part of the verb be. Okay? It's pseudo inflection. Okay? It's not an inflection, but it's as if it was an inflection. Uh, Anything else to talk about parts of speech? Oh yeah, these parts of speech, some of them they are 8, and 6 of them derive into phrases. The verb phrase, okay, so we have, again, let's go back to the other slide. Okay, we have the 8 parts of speech, and 6 of them have their respective phrases. What is the phrase? The phrase is a way words get together so that one of these parts of speech will be the head of them. For example, the noun will derive into the noun phrase. An example of a noun phrase: she ate the cake. The cake is a noun phrase, okay, in which I have a determiner, the, and the word cake, but in which the word cake is the head, okay, so she ate the cake, cake is a noun phrase. Adjective will derive into adjective phrase, a phrase in which the head is an adjective. Mario looks tired. Tired is not only an adjective, but is also an adjective phrase inside the clause Mario looks tired. Subordinators, do they derive into phrases? No, subordinators don't, and coordinators don't either. So we have found the 2 parts of speech that don't derive into phrases, which is the same to say that all the others will. Determiner will derive into a determinative phrase. For example, I'm looking for the blue pen. The blue pen, this the is a determiner and a determinative phrase. The blue is determinative, okay? It's different from saying a blue pen. By the way, we learned that determiners have a role to determine, to restrict the meaning of a noun. It's different to say my car is a red car, my car is the red car over there. What about a, the article a? Is it a determiner? We learned articles and we learned they can be definite and indefinite. When I define something, I determine what it is. What if I don't define it? I'm also determining it. I'm determining that it's not to be determined. It's strange, it's hard to accept, but a and are also determinative. When you don't specify, it's a way to determine. You give a meaning to the noun, a more a vaster meaning, a more general meaning, but it's a way to say I'm talking about anyone and not a specific one. A and the 3 articles we learned, the definite articles and the indefinite articles, are all determiners. The verb turns into a verb phrase. Okay, I won't extend because of time and because you have a slide about this. You have the class to take a look in YouTube. The verb will derive into verb phrase, And the prepositions will derive into prepositional phrases, such as on the desk, under the chair. They are all prepositional phrases. Okay. Well, phrases. I think then, after knowing the parts of speech, their consequent phrases, we discussed about clausal sentences again. We already knew that they are made of only one clause, and we can split it into subject and predicate, as we saw. Okay, when the predicate is only one verb, uh, we call it the simplest type of clause, the clausal sentence, and also the predicator. The predicator is the word I said in charge of the predicate. Let me put this slide. Yeah, the predicator is the word in charge of the predicate. As I have only one word for the predicate here, it's easy to find the predicator. But then I gave you the case of I am a student or I am whatever, yeah, and I bought something. And I showed you how this a student and a car, although the structure looks like the same, these elements play very different roles in this clause. A student, the noun phrase a student, works as a noun, and the predicator am plays the role of a equal sign. I equals a student. This equals is given by the verb to be. So what I have here is that a student is a predicative complement of I. What is the definition of a predicative complement? A predicative complement is something that refers back to something else in the sentence. It may refer back to the subject or to the object, but it always will refer back to a noun or a noun phrase. Okay? A noun phrase is a phrase that plays the role of a noun. Okay? Now, in I bought a car, the verb to buy certainly does not describe a relationship of equality. I did something to the car. In this case, I bought it. I washed the car. I crashed the car. In all these cases, you are causing something in the direction of the car. And when I do something towards some object, this something must be, as I said, the object, which can be direct or indirect. I bought a car. I bought something. Direct object. Okay? I'm going to my house. To my house is direct or indirect object? Indirect object because we have a preposition there. Okay? So, uh, this analysis, maybe if I ask you what is a predicative complement, the best way to describe it is something that will refer back to some other element in the sentence, either to classify it or to give extra information about it. Okay? Uh, Now, just to finish this. Some verbs, this is important. Some verbs require an object, and this object is direct. Some other verbs require an object, and it is indirect. Now, there are some verbs that are both direct and they require both direct objects and indirect objects. Let's take a look at some examples. Let me see. Okay, for example, I read a book. A book here is direct or indirect? Direct. And then read is considered direct, transitive direct. I read a story to my niece. Direct or indirect? Sorry. I read a story to my niece. I read something. Direct. Yeah? A story is the direct object. What about to my niece? I read a story to pronoun to substitute my niece. I read a story to her. And we learned that these her, him are called objective pronouns. Do you now understand why? Because they play the role of the object. To her. I have a preposition here. So, my niece is the indirect object. Because there is the preposition to, who reads, can read something, and can read it to someone. Okay? This will end up in what I wanted to talk to you about, which are the 5 basic sentence patterns in English. Just to finish this up, okay, I'll make this video available, and I'll also, in case I missed something today, I'll also make available the review I gave to the previous group in the previous semester, okay, so that you can complement. Maybe there I talked about something that I didn't talk today. Maybe today I talked about something else that I didn't talk in that video. So, we have 5 canonical structures, which some people call the 5 basic sentence patterns. The sentences are always grouped like this: subject, predicate, subject, predicator, subject, predicator, and a predicative complement, subject, predicator, and an object. In this case I put direct object, but of course could be indirect object. I teach English. Direct object. I teach to group number 2. In this case it's indirect, okay? Please consider this. That's all. I think now it's better understandable. In this case, it's direct object. But if the example were another, could be subject, predicate, or indirect object. I can have subject, predicator, indirect object, direct object, or the other way around, direct object, indirect object, of course. The order here of the objects is not important. And finally, subject, predicator, direct object, and the predicative complement. Okay? Or better understanding, the object and the predicative complement, which in this case here is direct. Okay? These groups of clauses here, from I teach English to I made them angry, are what I call transitive clauses. Why transitive? These are intransitive clauses. What is the difference between these two first sentences and these last three sentences? These last three sentences have something that the first two don't have. They have an object. Okay? So being transitive means having an object. This is the difference of I run, I'm a runner, I'm a teacher, she's an athlete, to she ran 5 kilometers. 5 kilometers is an object. She ran a certain distance. This distance is the object of the sentence. The first example, she's a runner, is an intransitive clause. Our clause is about the subject, what she is. The second example is a transitive clause. She ran 5 kilometers. There is a transition to the world outside, what she really did in the world. Okay? That's why I call it transitive. Okay? Well, time is over. But I'd ask you not to worry too much about the class, about the exam. Just take a look at the videos again if possible. I'll make the slides available right now. I'll go downstairs and put the slides available in a... Eu vou pôr em arquivo RAR, tá, gente, os slides. Que é mais fácil. Compactado, vou pôr de uma vez só. E como vocês já sabem, é uma prova metade